All right, let's get started. We still have some people trickling in, but we will let them come in over the next couple of minutes. Good afternoon and good morning, everybody. Again, thank you so much for being with us here today. We're going to be talking today about engaging global talent with WhatsApp for Sense messaging. Now, before we get started, thank you again, first of all, for making this time today for us. We absolutely love questions. You can ask questions anytime. You can submit them through the Q&A panel in the Zoom chat. We will pick those questions up oftentimes as we go along if they're relevant, and we certainly have kept time towards the end of this presentation to take some Q&A as well. This presentation and the recording of this webinar will be distributed to everybody afterwards who registered. So don't worry about taking a bunch of notes or screenshots or anything like that. You're going to get all the content. We'd rather you spend this time asking us questions, throwing scenarios at us that you're facing today. And hopefully between me and my co-hosts, we're able to answer most of your questions. Speaking of which, just a quick introduction for those of you who have not met me. My name is Pankaj. I'm one of the founders of Sense. Sense is a talent engagement platform. We'll talk more about that here in a second. But before that, allow me to introduce my co-panelists with me as well. Maria, if you would join us, please, and Matt. So Maria, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Zekman. I'm a solutions consultant here at Sense, and I'll be walking through the product today and answering any of your questions. Thanks so much for joining.
Matt, you're on mute.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Rubin. I'm a director of engineering at Sense, and I work specifically on texting. I will be sharing some insider information about WhatsApp today.
Awesome. Thank you. Wonderful to have you both. All right, so let's jump right in. This is sort of our agenda for today. The first thing is we're going to talk about why we built WhatsApp in the first place. This whole idea of integrating WhatsApp into Sense messaging. What did we hear from our customers and how did this come about? Second, we're going to give you an in-depth demo of how the product works, how slick and easy it is, and how it just interfaces into what you've been doing already. I'm assuming a lot of you on the call are Sense customers already. And for those of you who are not, you'll actually be able to see how easy this solution is and how well it integrates with your applicant tracking systems, your systems of record, so on and so forth. We're also going to talk about some unique advantages that WhatsApp brings into your ecosystem as you add that into your tech stack. Where could this be slightly more useful than mass text messaging? And then, like I said, we're going to take Q&A. We're going to answer a bunch of questions towards the end, also questions as we go along. So feel free to keep asking us questions anytime you like. All right. For those of you who are not familiar with Sense, let me give you a quick introduction to the company. We started almost 7 years ago with the single motive of being the first end-to-end talent engagement platform. We've stayed really true to that mission, and we service over 800 customers today globally, which essentially means that we engage with over 100 million candidates every single year. There are about 40,000, and actually this number is pretty close to 50,000 now. There are about 50,000 recruiters that use Sense every single day, and we're responsible for about 3 million hires every single year. Along this journey, we've raised about $90 million in capital from some of the best investors you can hope to have on your board, companies like Accel Partners, Google Ventures, SoftBank, so on and so forth. We're also SOC 2 Type 2 certified, which is very rare for a company of our size. And it tells you how seriously we take our customers' data, how seriously we take GDPR, so on and so forth. And what you see on the right-hand side is essentially the entire Sense platform. We certainly won't be going through all of this today. This gives you an idea of everything that Sense does today. We're going to be spending time in a small sliver of this, which is essentially messaging and how we've now turbocharged that messaging using WhatsApp. So let's start talking more about that. Why did we add WhatsApp? So when you think about it, we added WhatsApp because we actually did a survey along with a partner, and it turned out that the most effective channel that all global HR leaders talk about for engaging candidates is text messaging. Texting is how people engage candidates. You've all heard the data, you've all heard the cliches that, hey, only 5% of my phone calls get returned, only 10% of my emails get opened, but more than 90% of the text messages get read within 3 minutes, and more than 50% of the text messages get responded to almost immediately. It is the primary way people communicate today. Now, while that seems to be really true in the US, when you think about outside the US, it seems like a lot of people would prefer WhatsApp over text messaging. First of all, cost is a big concern. But the second concern is the idea that there is no such thing as a global text messages. I mean, SMSs are costly. There is challenges when you are trying to send multimedia messages or images, so on and so forth. If you send a long text message, you probably already know about this fact that it can get divided into several different messages depending on the carrier that you're using, so on and so forth. And about 30% of the world's population today uses WhatsApp. So the idea that, you can be a recruiter sitting in Switzerland and you're probably hiring people from Germany, Italy, France, but every single message that you send out isn't an international text, and you aren't paying for an international text message, is pretty appealing to a lot of our customers. All right, so that's the idea. That's, this has been something that has been on the wish list of our customers for a long time. We had been evaluating this for a while, and obviously very sort of pleased that we finally have this in our tech stack. So these are some of the customer requests, by the way, that we got through our survey. 57% of our customers that have international operations, they requested a WhatsApp integration. 62% of messaging customers, so these are people who actually use text messaging today, they wanted WhatsApp. And nearly 90% of our UK customers who are located in the UK, also asked for WhatsApp. So, this was very clearly a winner when it comes to customer wish list and what they wanted to see next in our roadmap. So this is one of the bigger reasons why we decided to do that as well. Now, how does WhatsApp help? Well, first of all, it absolutely helps you, connect with your global customers as well as global candidates. Recruiting, as you know now, the world is shrinking. As we do remote work, you can have candidates that are located anywhere. This is especially true outside of the US, where people are almost always hiring folks not from within their own country, but many countries, especially in the European Union. Second, it also helps you, two-way texting helps your entire talent journey experience. What we mean by that is the idea that you could send out hundreds of messages, but they're all personalized. And anytime somebody actually responds to you, anytime somebody responds and says they have a question, they have a concern, that's when it automatically goes to the recruiter that this candidate belongs to, and they can essentially, make sure that they can address that question, address that challenge. You can use text messaging and WhatsApp to check in with your contractors on assignment. So this is not just for people that you're trying to recruit. It also is applicable to people that you've put to work. So it actually helps towards, candidate retention, candidate satisfaction. You'll also see use cases for redeployment. You have people working on assignment, they're coming out of assignment in 30, 60, 90 days. You want to start communicating with them, potentially also want to start sending them some jobs that they might be a good fit for. So before these people start becoming antsy, you want them to know that you're looking out for them. Along with this is obviously bundled our scheduling product. So when you're talking to somebody, you can also send them a link to your scheduler, a 15-minute meeting, a 30-minute meeting, depending on the conversation you're going to have, whether it's a screening conversation or somebody just has a few questions. You can bundle that in within messaging, within WhatsApp, so on and so forth. And then lastly, a unique use case that we keep hearing a lot about is events. When you're at a conference, you're at a career fair, perhaps you want, dozens of people, hundreds of people to schedule time with you, connect with you. You're going to see how we can make that super easy as well. So the first thing that we want to do is actually get into a demonstration of the platform. Maria, who's our senior solutions consultant, she's going to walk you through this platform end to end. In the meanwhile, we're also collecting some information on if you have recruiters who use WhatsApp today. But we'll walk you through this platform in a comprehensive fashion. She's going to take the next 25 to 30 minutes to show you every single feature. And like I said, Matt and I are both on standby during that time to take questions if you have any. Maria, with that, over to you.
Thank you so much. So as we talk about WhatsApp and Sense messaging, I want to give you just a high level understanding for those that haven't been using our Sense messaging yet, how it works. Our WhatsApp seamlessly integrates with our existing messaging platform, allowing you to have an omni-channel approach to your communication with candidates, contacts, and so on, prospective or currently working with you. What you're looking at here is a quick search I've done of a database for some candidates. That's what we'll use as our backdrop. On the right-hand side, you'll see our Chrome extension. That Chrome extension is going to follow you from page to page, allowing you a seamless use of our tool. We also have a free mobile app available, so you'd be able to communicate via text message or WhatsApp using that mobile app, which I'll show in just a moment. What I want to do is just quick walk through some navigation in our messaging if you're unfamiliar. On the left-hand side, you're going to see your current threads. This will operate the same way on WhatsApp, which I'll show in a moment. You'll also have the number that's dedicated to you as a recruiter or a user of our tool. And then in the center, you'll have your conversation thread with the individual that you're speaking with. You'll notice it's fairly colorful and has a lot of detail, and that's intentional so that your team really has full view of what they need to know when they're communicating. Whether they're on the go or even in a different platform, Indeed or LinkedIn, they're still able to see this information. So anything in blue just means I typed it up and went ahead and sent it. This is what I call ad hoc communication. So when you need to send something, you can do so. Whether that's using a pre-written template that you've provided to your whole organization, or just typing it up, as I mentioned. Anything in green is actually leveraging our Sense automation. Automation is part of our Sense Engage platform. We're not speaking about that today, but keep that in mind that it is like a puzzle piece. It all fits seamlessly together. So you are going to be able to pick up where automation leaves off. And anything in purple is what we call a broadcast, allowing you to communicate to multiple people simultaneously. This is a feature that's going to be available across Sense messaging, as you see now, as well as you can do so in WhatsApp. So we've really integrated the same level of interaction that you may want to leverage with SMS as you can with WhatsApp. Some other information here is what we call conversational context. It's giving you the capability to know if a colleague might be texting or messaging with the same candidate from another phone number. That's going to give you the visibility so you don't have to always look up that person and look up the notes. We are going to be covering and making sure that everything that's messaged within SMS or WhatsApp gets logged back into that candidate or contact notes area within your ATS. And that's going to log automatically, so you don't have to worry about copying and pasting notes or forgetting to do so. We're able to include that. And with WhatsApp, we can either lump it together with your SMS communication or keep it separated with a different note type. That would be up to you, and you have the flexibility to decide what's best for your organization. What's key is you're also able to use some additional pieces of communication. So sending documents or images, things like that, emojis if we want to get fun. But from there, you also have other actions like sending a message later, using a template that you might have created, and inserting those scheduling meeting links, as Pankaj mentioned earlier. If you're having a great conversation with someone, you may want to cut the back and forth and not ask, are you free at 2? Are you free at 3? Let's just send the meetings invite, and that person can pick the time that's best for them on their calendar. When they click that link, it'll pop open into a branded web image of your calendar and allows that candidate to pick the time that's available on your calendar, reflecting your preferences and needs. So as we communicate, you're often going to have 2 lines, right? One maybe using SMS, but also for WhatsApp. When we navigate between our 2 lines, we can do so by jumping over to the left-hand side here. And I have my WhatsApp conversation. I can enable the same WhatsApp phone number for texting as well. So you can see here, we can toggle between SMS for that phone number or WhatsApp. With WhatsApp for Business, it does allow you to send out communications and open up channels. So this is a little bit unique to what you might be used to with just texting. Texting just sends it out and you write whatever you want. With WhatsApp for Business, WhatsApp requires that we set up templates. You can have as many templates as you need to initiate conversation. These are approved templates by Meta, who owns WhatsApp. And when we send those templates, we can select whichever one we want. Once somebody replies to that initial outreach, we open up a channel. So I'm going to send a quick message about a new job opportunity. As you'll notice, it's going to pull in some merged fields to personalize that message. And those fields are going to be coming from your ATS. So you don't need to fill that in. We can certainly also include placeholder fields so that if you do have something particularly unique or that you need to include ad hoc, you can do so within a template. Here, I'm going to send this template. Once we sent that out, now we wait for that candidate to respond. I've pulled over my phone. This is my WhatsApp. I've sent this out to this individual. And then from there, we can actually communicate back to this session. So this is my live WhatsApp communication. Yes, I'm interested in work. Once you see me respond, this opens up that session. And now, from the recruiter view, you're going to be able to communicate just like you saw on our texting platform. This opens it up, and you have 24 hours to have a back and forth conversation. And as responses from the recipient come in, that 24 hours keeps getting extended. If that 24 hours lapses, you would again send a templated message. Doesn't have to be the same template as you used before. It could be one that is drafted to continue the conversation or whatever you think is the best business need, but you'll be able to do so. The WhatsApp interface will track, so you'll be able to see, and we will also notify you with a banner if you're getting close to the expiring time frame. Anything that's closed would require communication. If you by chance WhatsApp messaged somebody that it's a phone number that isn't WhatsApp enabled, you will get a specific error message for that, indicating that this isn't available on WhatsApp. So you'll know immediately to go ahead and text message that phone number instead.
Hey, Maria.
Absolutely. Hello.
Let me pause you for just a second because we're getting a flurry of questions. So I feel like we should answer some of those as we go along.
Perfect.
And Matt, you might want to come on as well. I'll take some quick ones. We have a question from Lisa that says, do you integrate with Greenhouse? That's a simple one. The answer is yes. We actually integrate with nearly 25 or 30 ATSs at this point, and Greenhouse is certainly one of them. Angela asked the question, is this feature available for other ATSs other than Bullhorn? The answer is a resounding yes. Maria is simply using Bullhorn as a backdrop just because we had to use something to show you this demo, but this feature is available for any ATS that Sense currently integrates with. So this is just universal across the board. Think of Bullhorn as just a backdrop for today. Matt, I'm going to throw this over to you. There is a question from Eve that says, how does the WhatsApp messaging work when it comes to people unsubscribing from Sense messages? For example, if a candidate unsubscribes from Sense, can we still send them a WhatsApp message, or does the subscription cover both messaging types?
Yeah, great question, Eve. So similar to SMS, we observe stop codes from candidates for WhatsApp messages. The opt-out channel is separate from SMS, so people can independently opt in or out of SMS and WhatsApp. And we can also sync opt-out fields from the or opt-in fields from the applicant tracking system or whatever your system of record is.
Okay, here is another one for, I guess, either one of you. Is the 24-hour during working days, or does it include weekends?
It
Sure.
includes weekends.
Okay. Another question, is it possible to edit the templates?
I can take this one. So these templates get submitted to Meta for approval. So you can't do full free editing, but there are placeholder fields, which I think allow for free text and templates that I think Maria is going to cover in a little bit more detail.
Awesome. And then I'll take this last one from Mike. Do you integrate with our CRM called Vincere? Yes, Vincere is actually one of our latest integrations. So again, the answer to that is yes. It's one of our newest integrations, but it's live now. All right, Maria, sorry, back to you.
Absolutely. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
I've pulled up a template just to show you one that also includes placeholders. So here you can see we're pulling in a field from the ATS of your whatever you're using, but then we've also included some placeholder fields because that may change depending on what you're sending out, especially if you're sending a more broadcasted message about certain things. So here you can include, we have a new placement at XYZ company or whatnot. So you can adjust whatever you want. And these placeholders are free form, so you can really become pretty prescriptive in these templates. And as I mentioned, these templates are only needed for that initial outreach. And they're really there for Meta to make sure that all of the communication, because it's getting approved, is something that is business specific. It allows minimizing the spam and things along those lines. You can, so when we're using WhatsApp, it is common that outside of the US, there's higher charges and challenges with sending documents or images via SMS due to carrier rates for the recipients and so on. So what we can do is actually leverage WhatsApp for those things very simply. You can include attachments here if you want to, images, and then you can also leverage being able to send any messages at a later date or include that scheduling link like we've talked about on the messaging side. But now you have that capability here. Not to mention all the fun emojis and GIFs if you are really diving deep into that. As we walk through though, this is really going to be able to give you that insight just like messaging does. So you're going to have your conversational context, so you're aware of what's going on with this candidate. regardless if you're in the texting side or the WhatsApp side. We wanted to bring those features over so that you're not losing any information that you might want. You can, of course, adjust your filtering, what you're viewing here, just like you could before as well. When I'm drafting a broadcast, I can, again, grab numbers from this screen and I can toggle and choose which number or channel I want to use. If it's WhatsApp, no problem. Grab those numbers from the screen. Again, we still have a landline, so it's going to pick that up. And then we're going to send our templated message. So the communication and the drafting of those broadcast messages is going to remain the same, the way that you might be used to sending SMS.
Maria,
Yes.
now that you're taking a pause for a second, I'm just going to interrupt with a couple more questions. I think somebody asked if we integrate with Avionte. The answer is absolutely yes. Then I think somebody else asked if we integrate with Workday. The answer to that question is yes as well. And then there are a couple more technical questions I'll throw at you and Matt. Matt, I think this one's for you. How does the phone number configuration works? If our recruiters have corporate phones, can the send number be linked to each recruiter's number? And would they see the messages on the WhatsApp app on their phone?
Yeah, so we can support either providing phone numbers and enabling WhatsApp on them, or allowing you to bring your own numbers and hosting the WhatsApp on it, which is called Bring Your Own Number. So absolutely, we can support that. In terms of app, the messages would come to the Sense Messaging mobile app, as opposed to like the WhatsApp app on your phone. But you'd still be able to do everything from your phone.
Yeah, which probably answers the next question that Karina has as well. Is it possible to link a recruiter's actual mobile number / WhatsApp so that the candidates that are warm already and have recruiter mobile numbers and not end up with two different strings of communication? So like Matt said, both your text messaging thread as well as the WhatsApp thread will show up within the same Sense Messaging app. Maria was showing that before as well. Sam asked, do you integrate with Zoho? We do not integrate with Zoho. That isn't, so to speak, an ATS/CRM that has come up, that much from either our customers or prospects. Obviously, happy to look into it. As I said, we have nearly 30 ATS integrations. So as soon as we find an ATS that, would potentially have hundreds or at least dozens of customers, we tend to integrate with them. Just hasn't happened with Zoho for us yet. Do you integrate with Lever? The answer is yes. Sam asks, silly question perhaps, but broadcast messages won't group contacts into a group on WhatsApp, will it? Just thinking for GDPR reasons. And the answer is no, because all of our broadcast messages still go out as one-on-one messages to the individual. So that's the exact same thing that happens with Sense Messaging. You're sending the broadcast message as a recruiter because we're giving you that ease to say, hey, these 200 people are a good fit for this job. I'm going to go talk to these 200 people. They don't see a 200 people message. They see a one-on-one message, hence those variables that Maria was showing earlier. And then lastly, we have an anonymous question. Apart from the English language, what other languages can it be used? Yeah, Matt, I don't know if you want to take that. I'm not 100% sure about this question, because if you want to send messages in any other language over WhatsApp, you can just send messages in WhatsApp, whatever language you want. But yeah, if you have anything to add, please add.
Yeah, that's right. And the only thing I would add is that like Meta supports submitting like multiple translated versions of a templated message. So you can get templates approved in multiple languages, no problem.
Cool. Sorry, go ahead, Maria.
Oh, I was just going to say that actually stands for Sense Messaging as well. We can support any language if you're sending or receiving. It's not going to auto-translate everything for you, but as long as you're comfortable in that language, you can certainly use it.
Okay, somebody just asked, can you send out WhatsApp templates messages to hot lists / distribution lists? Yeah, and again, the answer is yes. I mean, if you think about a hot list or a distribution list, that's just a group of people. You can see that on the screen right now. We actually are in a candidate list. If you look at that, this could have been a hot list, this could have been a distribution list. We're simply going to grab all of those numbers and send one single message out.
Anything that we can really see the phone number visible in that list, we can pull from grabbing those numbers from the screen.
Okay. Another question. Sorry, these questions are just keeping on coming, which is amazing. Brian asks, what label appears on the message when the recipient receives it? Is it configurable?
So you mean, what does it look like from a recipient? It's going to be your phone number. I've renamed it in my WhatsApp, but this is how the first message came through initially. I used a template, of course, and then as you do have a business alert, and then I responded appropriately and opened up the session.
Yeah, so the short answer is, yeah, this is very much configurable. It's very much what you're saying. Yeah, so it's actually your number, your name, so on and so forth. We have a question from Adam that says, we have a completely bespoke CRM which currently uses MessageBird for SMS but not WhatsApp. Is there an API option instead of full dev integration? Adam, we just released an API for our messaging product. So we do have an API, but yeah, we should probably talk about this conversation offline. You probably won't have a great experience with your candidates if you're using one service for SMS and just another one for WhatsApp. Also, we would want to host the same exact numbers, so people are not seeing these messages coming from two different phone numbers, and you could only have one service host your numbers. But anyway, happy to have that conversation separately. More questions, guys. What kinds of templates does Meta approve or disapprove? What sorts of things are not allowed?
Yeah, I can jump in and take this one, Pankaj. Generally, Meta's pretty generous with their approval of templates. Really, what they're trying to prevent is like spam or scam, similar to other channels like SMS. I don't think there should really be any surprises here. In general, we've had no problem getting templates approved and getting them approved quickly.
Awesome. Another question, can we use Sense WhatsApp and SMS services with integrated ATSs, or can this also be a standalone tool? Yeah, you can certainly do standalone. I mean, messaging is a standalone tool today with customers who have either homegrown systems or who have, a rare ATS that we don't integrate with. You certainly can do that. But again, happy to talk about that offline. We have a question from an anonymous attendee. Our recruiters don't have work phones. So how will Sense WhatsApp be used? Will they just use the Sense portal on the laptop? Can they use this on their personal phones? If so, is there a separate WhatsApp so it doesn't interfere with their personal WhatsApp? So yeah, I mean, the work phone world has long gone already. We obviously have more than half of our customers where recruiters are not even going to the office just yet. So this has got nothing to do with the work phone. You are going to see everything in the Sense messaging app that Maria is showing you right now. So yeah, you don't have, it doesn't interfere with anything, so on and so forth.
I'm on my personal phone, for example, here. It's just my app, just like you would have any other social media apps or anything that you could message from. It's going to send you push notifications based on your preferences, but using the issued number. So your team doesn't have to necessarily release their personal phone numbers.
Awesome. We have a question from Naresh. Will your WhatsApp or SMS work for all international numbers or just limited to any specific areas? And the answer is it will work for all numbers, just as WhatsApp works. So it is completely agnostic. This is literally one of the biggest reasons why we developed WhatsApp, why we actually came up with this feature. So, we don't have to worry about, hey, do we have an SMS provider in your country or not, so on and so forth. It'll work pretty much everywhere. Matt, this might be for you. The next question, is the Chrome extension a screen reader in terms of obtaining the numbers? What if I have a few pages of candidates that need to be included in the batch?
Yeah, so the Chrome extension is going to be pulling the phone numbers off of the page, but it'll allow you to do so incrementally. So like if you have like, let's say 2 pages of candidates, you can just grab all the numbers off the first page, move to the second page and hit grab again, and it'll just add them to the same list.
Yeah. So yeah, as you keep loading more and more pages, your message in the Chrome extension is still persistent. So you can add 50 people and then another 50 and another 50 if that's what you really wanted to do. Next question is from Angela. Will you be covering prices/packages? Angela, we won't be doing that on the webinar. It's a little too complicated because, this could be done in 50 different countries. And we don't know exactly which country, are people most interested about. But we will certainly do a poll after Maria finishes her demo, asking anybody who wants more information, please absolutely say yes, and we'll have somebody reach out and find out which country you're from, how many recruiters do you have, how many messages do you send out, and those are 3 pieces of information that we will need before we can present pricing. Another question that just came in, will the Chrome extension's number grab work on non-integrated platforms? The answer is yes. The Chrome extension will grab numbers. If you're a non-integrated platform, we just can't write those messages back into your applicant tracking system. So what you're seeing Maria do here over Bullhorn, she could have just as easily done this over LinkedIn or over Career Builder. So it's got nothing to do with the ATS. That's a completely different technology. You could be doing this on, a completely separate different web page. So we'll be able to grab numbers, but only when we are integrated, we're actually able to send that information back to the ATS.
And as you can see, we have numbers here that we are texting that aren't recognizing a name because they're outside of the system, but we can still have that communication. And once we enter that candidate into our system, if we choose to, it will actually sync the historical notes back as well.
Okay, no more questions for the moment, Maria. So I'll pass it back on to you. I won't bug you until you're done with the demo, and then I can take more questions after that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for your engagement. This has been wonderful. Really what I have left is what I wanted to finish up on is just showing you how the analytics then tie in. So for WhatsApp and for messaging, we also offer analytics here in the Sense platform. I've narrowed into our messaging analytics, but you'll be able to see the number of one-on-one messages sent out, broadcasts that you're leveraging, and what you're receiving back. How many people are you reaching, and any unique conversations? So it's not just one way that you are outreach, but nobody responds. How many actual exchanges are we having with people? And I think one of the really important metrics is your team replying in a timely manner to your candidates or contacts. It's really wonderful if somebody's responding, but if it takes your team, 4 hours to get back to somebody, maybe you're losing, and this is an area of training that could be done. So it gives you insight, and also in our opt-outs. So is anybody really stepping back and not wanting to get communication? But you can see this as your trends on any aspect of this. So if we want to see, how many unique conversations are we having over the month or week, this allows you the flexibility to see that. And then also by team member, giving you some insight, who's performing the way you expect and who may not be. And you can export this data if you need to. And on that note, I'm going to hand it back to Pankaj if we don't have any other items from a demo perspective.
I'm sorry. I was speaking for the last 1 minute on mute completely.
I'm sorry. I was about to say, hey, we have a poll
No,
available.
sorry. Yeah, we have a poll available. Please answer the poll. A bunch of you had great questions. So we'd love to answer them more thoroughly. Matt, I got another tech question for you here. It says, do any of your systems have webhook capabilities? For example, if someone replies to a particular WhatsApp message, could an endpoint URL be notified of the event, which we could then use in a downstream event?
Our API system today that we provide for integrating with downstream systems is primarily focused around sending messages today, but we are always expanding our capabilities. So if you have a specific use case, definitely reach out and let's talk.
Awesome, thank you. All right, give me a second while I share my screen here. All right, can you guys see my screen? Okay, wonderful. All right, so, that was great. I mean, thank you so much for keeping it interactive. We couldn't have asked for anything more because, oftentimes when you're able to answer real life questions and understand what ATSs do you use, what are your actual use cases, that gives us more of an insight into your world than any webinar could. But anyway, just to start wrapping up, so, you probably noticed this already, but here are some of the advantages of using WhatsApp. The first thing is it obviously increases and enhances the both recruiter and the candidate experience. And when you have a better candidate experience, it means more people are going to show up. There are going to be less drop-offs. There are going to be less people, voluntarily leaving your recruiting pipeline, so on and so forth. The second thing you can do is, obviously everybody is living and breathing on their phones nowadays, but now you can engage with people on their phones in the app that they use the most. So people who use WhatsApp, that's how you're communicating with them versus people who use SMS or text messaging. And then, of course, recruiters can work more collaboratively, given that all of this information is still within one single app. They can also use shared inboxes for more visibility. So if you had only a few recruiters in your company doing international recruiting, or people who are using WhatsApp numbers across multiple countries, you certainly can have a fewer people have access to those shared inboxes. This also leads to, a lot better response rates and faster responses. We've actually seen 5x faster responses using text messaging and WhatsApp, and 3x faster replies. So candidates are more likely to do that, just because you're reaching out to them in an omni-channel approach. Matt, I know you have thoughts on this. Can you maybe talk about how recruiting teams get faster and more frequent responses?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the very best ways you can get a good response from candidates is by hitting them on their preferred channel of communication. So in the US, SMS is the most popular channel by a pretty wide margin, in the channel where candidates are like the most responsive. But in other parts of the world, like most of Europe and Latin America, SMS is not as responsive of a channel. And instead, candidates are really spending their time on WhatsApp. So if you're not using an integrated business SMS or WhatsApp solution to reach your candidates on their primary channel, you're leaving responses on the table. And you may even have frustrated recruiters like just reaching out to candidates through their personal channels, making it pretty hard for your team to track and effectively collaborate.
Awesome. All right. The next thing is, obviously you're saving time with text messaging. This idea that you can send out a message to 200 people. I think somebody had asked that during Q&A, all at the same time, saying, hey, I think you might be a great fit for this job. Now you can do that, but at the same time, you can also make sure that every one of these messages is going out in a personalized fashion. You can also sort of expand your hiring funnel. If you weren't reaching out to a certain candidate because you could not text to them, or texting to them was more expensive, we even see that with candidates based in the US, or recruiters based in the US, but they sometimes won't send a message to Canadian numbers, if they have to pay SMS charges for that. But you can now very easily do that, and you can certainly keep expanding. You can keep expanding your funnel. So again, something that we thought through a lot about how mass texting can help engage talent at scale. Matt, would love for you to add some thoughts here as well.
Yeah, I think mass texting can be a powerful sourcing tool that allows recruiters to reach like targeted groups of candidates for recruiting for different types of roles. Mass text save recruiters a lot of time and allow them to manage larger candidate pools by eliminating the need to do one-on-one outreach for initial engagement. And it's very simple for recruiters to use and can be launched through the Chrome extension by grabbing numbers off of a list in your ATS or CRM, or by uploading like a spreadsheet. So outside of sourcing, this type of outreach is also great for recruiting for events. I think as we talked about a little bit earlier, and providing urgent updates for on assignment employees. And then in addition to the time saving recruiters will get from this max texting, they'll also get analytics around the performance of their outreach so they can A/B test their content and make sure that they're sending out high quality content.
That's right. And a lot of our customers do that today, where they will do A/B testing, where they'll try, different kinds of messages for a different job or different people or different groups of, candidates. And it'll essentially lead them to understand which one's getting a better response rate. I got a couple more questions here in the Q&A panel that I'll take quickly. One was, do we integrate with SAP SuccessFactors? And the answer is yes. And the second is, from an anonymous attendee, how much time in a day does a recruiter spend communicating with candidates? Well, I mean, for a good recruiter, I hope they're spending all their time doing that. But it's an interesting question because there are a lot of our customers who do what's called a time study. So they'll take groups of recruiters and essentially study where they spend their time over a 30-day period. Now, the intent here is not to find out if people are not working or shopping or going to YouTube. That's not the intent. Their intent is to see how they can make them more efficient. And we find out from several of our customers that nearly 70% of a recruiter's time is spent in prospecting, then sending messages out to people, then pre-screening them, then scheduling interviews, and oftentimes rescheduling those interviews. Now, if you're familiar with the Sense platform, all of that could be 100% automated. We're talking today a lot about messaging and WhatsApp and shared inboxes and templates and broadcast messages. But you probably have seen us do webinars around the chatbot, which can automatically pre-screen your candidates. You've probably seen us do webinars around job matching, which can automatically identify if a job opens up, the 10, 20 best people in your ATS, and then you can reach out to them using SMS or WhatsApp automatically. So there is a large percentage of time that can essentially be optimized. All right. We also wanted to talk about templates. Maria obviously spent time on this, and some of you had great questions around this. Obviously, why this makes sense. It kind of gives a brand name to your company. Everybody's using the same voice. Everybody's using the same template. It makes you look larger than you are when everybody is following the similar process. You can certainly send super personalized messages, and when your content is consistent, when it is the exact kind of message you're sending, when it's the exact kind of reply you're sending, it's very likely that you're going to have a lot of people respond to you. But again, thoughts on this, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think once you've gotten your recruiting on the right channel, the next most important thing you have to worry about is your content. And it's kind of a no-brainer that sending your candidates high quality messages will get you better response rates. But a lot of recruiting teams really rely on the strength of their individual recruiters to craft the right content for engaging candidates. And I think this is a missed opportunity, and that by carefully crafting templated engagement, leaders can arm their lowest performing recruiters to get response rates that are a lot closer to their top performing recruiters. So template management is definitely a powerful piece of Sense messaging on both SMS and WhatsApp.
Makes sense. Got another question from a gentleman called Sam. How can I add WhatsApp function to my Sense messaging license? Yeah, it's a super easy conversation with us. If you're already using Sense messaging, you probably have an account manager. Please reach out to your account manager, or at the end of this presentation, you're going to get the email addresses of all three of us. Reach out to any one of us and we'll have your account manager reach out to you. But yeah, it's super easy for us to get that going. So we just need to find out, how many messages do you plan to send and how many Sense messaging licenses do you have to give you some pricing. All right, the next thing is sort of around analytics and, visibility for basically your recruiting leaders. This is obviously super important. You want to understand, how many conversations are happening with your candidates. You want to understand how many messages are your people sending? Maria mentioned this during her demo, but we certainly see a lot of customers where they look at stuff like this and find out, wait a minute, here is a recruiter where the average time for them to respond to a text message is 2 hours or 1 hour. And that's obviously unacceptable. I mean, that's not how long you want to wait to respond to a text message. So overall, these analytics can be pretty helpful in terms of ascertaining the things that you need to fix within your recruiting teams. And almost always there will be somebody who's responding to text messages within 3 seconds and 2 seconds. And those are the kind of people, and that's the behavior that you want to emulate. Matt, anything to add here?
Yeah, I think that you've heard us talk a bit about analytics today, but I definitely think analytics are super important here. We've talked a little bit about like usage analytics, and this is kind of like the tip of the iceberg. But let me give you an example of how you might use like different types of analytics that we provide on messaging to improve your team. So like, let's say you're looking at your analytics and you find that like while your recruiters are sending a lot of messages, their response rate's low and candidates tend to be slow to respond. But you also find that the top 10% of your team has a response rate of over 25%. You can go and you can export the max texting data for like your top performers, identify what types of outreach they're doing that's like making them successful. And then you can go convert those top top texting content into like global or like team specific templates, train your team to use them, and watch the template analytics to confirm that the templates are being used and are having the desired impact on their response rate. So I think it's a great example of how the different types of analytics we provide can be super actionable.
Awesome, thank you. Here's another question I got from Eve. If we're already signed up for Sense messaging, do we need to pay for WhatsApp in addition? The answer is yes. Well, first of all, it's been a huge feature in development, but as you can probably appreciate, WhatsApp is a completely different service. So anytime you send out messages through WhatsApp, we're immediately paying the underlying provider, which is, of course, Meta/Facebook. All right. The other thing I just wanted to leave all of you with is the idea of collaboration using your recruitment teams. This is becoming just a feature of Sense messaging that is more and more adopted now. The idea that you can have shared inboxes. If you are 5 recruiters working in a branch office and one of them is off today, used to be that people would send out sort of an auto reply message using their text messaging platform and say, hey, I'll be back on Monday, or I'm gone for a couple of days. That's lesser and lesser the case now, because somebody else can check their messages and respond to candidates immediately, because speed is obviously still key. So you can do a lot more collaboration. If you are a manager that manages 5 different people, or if you're a manager that manages 5 different branches, you might be able to look at the shared inboxes of those 5 branches to see that your people are performing as you expect them to. You don't necessarily have to reply to messages, but you can at least read messages. You can see the responses. You can see what your people are using in terms of content. So it can actually be used for feedback and performance management and so on and so forth as well. Matt, more to add here?
Yeah, I would just add that like, we offer both writebacks to your ATS system, as well as in-product candidate engagement history. So you can see who else from your organization may be working with the candidates that you're working with. And as you mentioned with like the shared lines, like for teams that share the responsibility of managing a set of candidates, we also offer these shared lines for both SMS and WhatsApp. And line sharing has a pretty robust feature set, including like an owner's feature that makes it easy for users to cut through the noise on a shared line and pay attention to only the conversations that are relevant to them. In general, we support a lot of different shapes of recruiting teams, and we're frequently adding more collaboration features for different types of teams.
Awesome. All right, so I will, kind of wrap this up by essentially showing you the slide that you've probably seen from us many, many times over the last 5 or 6 years, except that it is awesome for me to see that every 6 months or so, this slide just keeps becoming bigger and bigger. What you see on the left-hand side are just the different products and functionality that Sense offers. And what you see on top is the 360-degree life cycle of a candidate, right? From sourcing and attracting them, to walking them through a recruitment process, through application, through an interview scheduling, then getting to a point where you're keeping them engaged, then you're essentially onboarding them, then you're communicating with them while they're on assignment, and then you re-nurture them or you bring them back into your top of the funnel. But these are all the products that Sense offers today. And as you can see, we've highlighted WhatsApp in here as the newest thing that we were talking about today. All right, so with that, I was going to save some time for Q&A, but we have 2 minutes left into this webinar. A lot of great questions were already asked by you guys, so we really thank you for that. There are a couple more questions that came in that I will essentially just, answer. I mean, I think they're just the same questions asked differently. What countries can we get WhatsApp in, which is pretty much any country, as we talked about. And then there was this other question around how is the information flowing back into the ATS? Matt, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we offer here is like note write back. So we offer both an inbound, outbound strategy where every single message will get written back to your ATS system, as well as daily summaries of conversations that a lot of people like to use for hygiene. But any communication that happens in Sense messaging over SMS or WhatsApp will get written back as a note on the candidate's profile in the ATS system.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about earlier. I mean, this is one of the biggest strengths of our platform, which is that, we're essentially taking conversations that might be happening today anyway, might be happening through personal phone numbers, might be rogue conversations, but they all become part of your system of record. And, that's sort of available from Sense right off the bat. All right, with that, thank you so much for joining us today. These are the email addresses of Matt, Maria, and myself. Please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any additional questions, if you'd like to see a demo in more detail, if you want to discuss pricing, we'd be more than happy to do that. We are super excited about launching this feature, obviously, because it's not very often that there is a feature that 70 to 90% of your customers are requesting. So this is very much something that has been built on the customer demand, and we certainly expect a ton of our customers using this. So yeah, happy to answer questions, but I'd like to thank Maria and Matt for their expertise, for joining the webinar. Thank you guys. Thank you both of you. And thank you everybody for spending this hour with us this morning. Thanks a lot.